In this audio log, I'll share all the details about how our latest playtest went for our upcoming strategy game. Brace yourselves, it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully. Hopefully. So I'd like to give you an update on what we've been working on during the past couple of weeks, because we continue working on Strange Desert. So in case you don't know me, I'm Eric and I'm a nearly full-time indie game developer at the moment. And we are working on a 2D side-scrolling strategy game settlement builder called Strange Desert. It has no Steam page yet, but as soon as we will have one, I will let you know for sure. We are working on this for nearly full time for about 5 months now. So quite a lot of progress has been made. But the most important thing is that about 3 and 4 weeks ago, we run our second playtest, because the previous stand-up episode was really about me announcing that the internal playable demo was feature complete. So right after it, we kicked off a set of playtests that was quite insightful, and I really want to share with you the learnings because you might be interested in that. So 12 people played the game. I feel, and that was just my observation, that 4 out of those 12 people actually loved the game. 7 people kind of liked it and were okay with it, and I think they really joined the playtest because of, hey, my bro is making a video game and I can now look at a game that is in development and I can do this early playtest. So it was more, I think they just joined more for the ride. And there was one person who actually didn't like it. I think he was very polite about it, but he didn't like it at all. What was also quite interesting is that 2 people out of the 12 playtesters thought that this should be a mobile game or a tablet game or something that is primarily controlled by touch. And my conclusion was that probably the reason for that is because we try to talk to them, right, and understand what types of games they typically play. And they were kind of hardcore gamers playing a lot of 3D games. And my conclusion was that some people, I think that if it's a 2D game, especially if it's hand-drawn, then it should be on mobile and not on PC or I think it was just an interesting one to hear, because we are not really designing this for mobile. And actually, I believe that our game would not be a good fit for a mobile, like a smartphone screen, but it would be good on iPad. I actually have a hidden and secret plan to bring this game onto the iPad, but not on mobile. I think this game would not work on mobile. Especially on a smartphone. All right, so anyways, sometimes 2D side-scrolling makes people think that this is a mobile game. That's it. So other interesting learning was that although we announced that this game is feature complete, but it's not feature complete in terms of sound effects and audio. So that means that there's only a placeholder music in this playable demo, and there's no sound effects. So when the workers work, or when they are building something, or when you navigate in the menus, there's no sound, right? There's no feedback or anything like that. And one of the biggest feedback about the game from people was that the game is not really communicating enough, or the details of when it's communicating something. For example, hey, here's now an opportunity to recruit people, or here's the opportunity to build a new building or something. Then just purely the user interface didn't do its job well, right? So, for example, if you would play the game on mute, then the game becomes difficult and you miss some crucial information that you need in order to play this game and have fun. So that was quite an eye-opening one, right? That we spent so much time with this game, and we basically knew, because we designed it, so we know where things are, we know when things will pop up. But for a fresh audience and a fresh player who is trying it for the first time, for them, even though the lack of sound effects didn't help, and I think if we would have some sounds that play when there's something new to take a look at, that would certainly help. But I think this was also a great way to stress test our user interface and just see, maybe some of the information that we really want to display to the player is actually not at the right place. And yeah, our UI, although we aimed for simplicity, it was still a little bit overwhelming to use because the way we arranged the screens into basically there's important information displayed in each of the corners of a screen, and that was just not really convenient for the players, and they often missed important details. So that was one. The other thing was that the ultimate goal of the game was not really communicated well. The thing is, we kind of expected it, but probably the more important thing is that the ultimate goal of the level was not as exciting. So I also felt when I looked at the players that when the game ends, when it wraps up and the run ends, basically, it just ends. We don't really elevate the mood with the player. We don't have to celebrate, or we don't really have anything, which is not terrible, but certainly something that we could and we should improve and work on to make it more exciting, to make it more fun. So the full run would have like a healthy loop, right? Like you would feel satisfied and you would feel rewarded, or you would feel sense of accomplishment, right? The infamous quote from EA from the Battlefront 2 release. The other interesting thing was onboarding. We had different player types. So we had a couple of really experienced strategy game players, and we had newcomers to the genre, or people who haven't played strategy games in a while. And the newcomers, or the people who were new to it, probably the people actually who would not buy this game either, let's be frank about it, they didn't really, so they needed a lot more help to get onboarded, to explain them how the UI works and how you could do the basic interactions with the game and what this is all about. So that was quite interesting, and I think this is in the realm of accessibility and inclusivity, right? That how accessible the game it is for new audiences. It's more about, there might be players and gamers who want to give it a shot, but maybe this is their first interaction or the first experience with a strategy game, and for them we need better onboarding. Actually, we let them know that there's no onboarding, but still from the new players the biggest area of feedback was that I would need much better onboarding, right? That explains the UI, explains what you need to do. It's more of a guided tour of the game, what needs to be done. On the other hand, though, the experienced players were just playing with it. That was actually very cool to see, that they didn't really have too many problems. The only thing is, the announcements, so sometimes we had to let them know, hey, you have something now to look at, please look at this, please look at that. That's fine. But it was quite reassuring to see that, okay, they get it. And that was cool. So we will, of course, work more on the onboarding, but this was this level, basically, that we tested with the players was, imagine that it's kind of halfway through in the game. So we throw a lot at the players. The experienced players could handle it. The new players could not really handle it. So that was quite interesting. And so just to sum it up, basically, the game's goals were not so clear for some people. The onboarding for the new players will be a lot more important because they need a little more hand-holding. And the third is the way the game is communicating important information. So that's something we have to improve, because it's not only the lack of sound effects, but also just the way the UI is arranged. Actually, 3 weeks have passed since, so we already reworked the UI, so don't worry, we are already on it, so we are taking action. Probably the other interesting thing for you to know is the price range. So we had a survey after the playtest. We asked everybody to fill a survey about the game, and they did, so which is cool. So we could ask a little bit about their preferences when it comes to video games, how many times they play games. And one of the questions was like the price range, that what do they think, how much would they pay for a fully realized version of the game. And it was like the $15 mark or 15 euros mark, basically. And it's good, because actually that was our targeted price. Some people said it just $5, right? Especially the ones who didn't like it. And that's okay, right? When a game would theoretically go on sale, we could sell it for $5. That's totally okay. But it's actually, I was quite happy that we landed there, so that the average was like the $15. So that was really cool. I think final observations that were really because there's one thing to look at the things and get lost in details, but then I just did like an emotional assessment of the playtest as well, and I could say that what was cool is that out of 12 people, 4 people actually really liked it. And yeah, and I think that's a good number, because I think it's inevitable. Not everybody's gonna like the game, but 4 people really had fun with it. And the other thing that I liked is that there was one person who we couldn't really arrange like a proper playtest session with, meaning that he was just going in blind. So just sent over the build. He tried it on his own. We didn't explain, we didn't onboard, we didn't explain anything. And his feedback was really positive. So I was happy that actually he did blind, because by the way, most of the playtests we did it on we connected on Google Meet or Discord, right? And the playtesters were sharing back the screen. We sent through the build right before the playtest, because we didn't want them to actually go ahead on their own. We wanted to see the first contact with the game. So that was quite cool. But yeah, 4 people really had fun. That was my observation, that they really, really had fun with it. And yeah, they easily spent like 25, 30 minutes in the game, losing sense of time, and just figuring it out and playing through the level. That was really cool, to be honest. And although the game is not like a full experience yet, it still felt like a game. We actually asked this at the end from the players, is that how do you feel? Does this feel like a game or feels more like just a high school project? But it feels like a game. So that's good. That's very, very good. I'm also happy that there was one person who actually didn't like it. And that really gave me the feeling of how it is when you market maybe your game to the wrong audience, right? And that could actually happen when you somehow on the marketing front you try to spread the news about your game, but maybe you tag it wrong, maybe your copy is wrong, maybe it doesn't represent what it is about, right? And then it just goes to players who may download it or may just take a look at it and move away. Because I know that, for example, on Steam, if many people check the game out, but if they don't do anything, meaning they are not wishlisting it, they are not buying, then it's also a feedback to the algorithm that, yeah, maybe this game is just not right, like nothing of interest for those people. And that's kind of a bad metric on Steam. And the other thing is that, yeah, if somebody is trying it and gets disappointed, that's also pretty bad, right? Because the game might be okay, but for them it's just nothing special. They don't like it. So anyways, I think it was just a cool experience to have. It's not an enjoyable or pleasurable experience, but it's a valuable experience to actually see how somebody who actually would never buy this game and doesn't even like the whole thing react to it. So yeah, it's something to avoid, I'd say. It's inevitable to a certain degree, but the majority of the players ideally, or the audience, should be somebody who clicks with the genre, the art direction, and so on. Okay, so that was it. I hope you found this episode insightful, and I think this playtest was extremely valuable for us and really gave us boost to continue working on the game. So with that, guys, thank you very much for listening and checking in for an update. You will be able to find me on X and Blue Sky as well. So I'm going to be focusing now more on posting regularly in between the episodes, because it seems like that I'm gonna be sticking to monthly updates, because that's when I have enough update to actually share with you about the game. So with that, thanks very much for listening and catch you next time. Bye.